So, are you contemplating a visit to Africa? What countries are you thinking about? Are you interested in Accra in Ghana? Are you interested in Lagos in Nigeria? Are you interested in Cote d'Ivoire, the city of, I forget their capital, but they have Abidjan, which is not their capital actually, but it's a major city there because and they're French speaking also. Are you interested in Southern Africa? Are you interested in Kinshasa? Actually, I guess that's more central. In the Congo? Are you interested in Johannesburg? Are you interested um, Cairo, which is way above, not part of sub-Saharan Africa at all? So, which cities in Africa are most interesting to you? So, of course, you're probably saying, you tell me, you're the one who's from there. Yes, I was born in Nigeria, not in Lagos, but in, well, close enough, just about 2 hours away. Yay. Anyway, so the reason I wanted to do this video was actually just to kind of talk about the different cities and the different options as far as like travel to Africa, or moving there for a year and moving there for the summer, or whatever it is that floats your boat and suits you. And so what are the safest? Well, because you do. I mean, let's just be real, right? Like sub-Saharan Africa and the countries there, you have you have environments where there's still a lot of poverty, and it's not easy to live there. It's for the people who are born and raised there, talk less of somebody coming from the West. So coming from the West and going to an African city is not the easiest thing in the world. So you have to plan very carefully how you're going to execute this kind of journey and this kind of um, exploration into that part of the world. But it's very rewarding. There's nothing like going, especially if you have any kind of roots in that culture, any kind of ancestral roots in that culture, in that part of the world. I think it's a very special thing to get to visit that and get to connect with that, be a part of that. But it's not um, you know these cities are not the easiest places for just anybody to venture into. So I would say, like, I mean, it seems like well known now that, like, for example, Accra is an easier African city to visit for somebody who's coming from the Western world, and so is um, so Nairobi in Kenya, which is um, you know a popular city also, I would think would be pretty easy, but just because I know people from Kenya, and they have nice property there and whatever. But supposedly it has seedy parts to it. It has some really sketchy parts to it. But it also has places like malls and things that look like Western cities and stuff. So I would have a good opinion of Nairobi based on what I've heard from you know a close friend of mine who's from there, and just like people from there just always. You know, but I don't know. And the way they talk about the country and the environment, it always just sounds like pretty easy place to manage. um, but maybe it's not. Maybe it has like seedy parts to it that don't make it so easy. um, of course, Accra is very popular in Ghana with people who are from the West who want to visit an African country, and that makes sense too. It's pretty well managed. It's really you know the people they're nice, respectful. Apparently, like, there's not very much crime. There's not. You can come from wherever and just show up there and be okay, and spend a month or two or a year or move there, whatever. So apparently that's a pretty easy environment to transition into. um, Lagos is, of course, the big African city, the big city in Nigeria. And my mom's from Lagos, and I've been there a number of times. The last time I was in Lagos, though, was in 2011. So I feel like, ooh, that's it's been about 10 years, right? So so that's a long time. But I would say that Lagos is not a city that you can visit without knowing somebody there. So I wouldn't go to Lagos without having somebody meet me there, having somebody charter a taxi or a ride for me and with me and stuff like that. So I wouldn't, coming from the West, go to Lagos if I didn't have any family there, didn't know who was going to be, just go by myself. Like, I think that's incredibly like dangerous, and because there are people who will be good to you, right? There are people who will be good to you, but there are also people who are sketchy and dangerous, and you're not going to know the difference because they have smooth mouth and smooth talk, and they'll just tell you whatever, and you'll just wind up in a situation that you just did not anticipate. So I think in that context, in the context of of Nigeria, of Lagos specifically, I would say that, you just have to know somebody there already that's going to meet you, that you trust, obviously, and that's going to like ensure that you have like a smooth experience. But the great thing about that city in particular is that it's easily the most, I mean, there's a lot of money there, right? And there's a lot of, if you go to the rich parts of Lagos, as well as Abuja, but in particular, so there's a lot of money there, so there's a lot of luxury there, but that doesn't mean that life is easy for everybody, obviously. So it's one of those things where it's like, I guess I'm just saying that, in some ways, Lagos would be a city that's more impressive in some ways than some of the other cities that are actually safer, as far as like, um, you know, you wouldn't get automatically taken advantage of as much as, as easily as you would. Lagos doesn't, it doesn't really like, it's not really suitable for tourists who don't know Africa at all. So if you know Africa a little bit, so if I was like coming from the West, it would be like I would start with an easy environment like Accra, and then I'd go to like Nairobi, and then I'd go to Lagos for like, the big city, sort of like, to see where they spend a lot of money at and stuff like that. And oh, I forgot about, yes, of course, Johannesburg in South Africa is nice, in southern, in yeah. So yeah, so if specifically if you're very interested in visiting like the core part, like the, Central, West, and East Africa, if that's the part that interests you, those are the cities, that the ones that I've compared, that are. Um, I also thought I'm not really sure about Addis Ababa in Ethiopia. I've never I don't really know people from there, so so, but they have a good airline, and it seemed they have a good government. So now too. I'm trying to figure out if that's a good if that's a good environment these days, or if it isn't, or whatever. Oh, that's another thing. So the reason why, like Accra, for example, is easier than like Lagos and Nigeria, is because like their government in Ghana is a lot better. That's a more well managed environment, where the Nigerian government is like, it's more full of corruption. It's just more, um, they just have more issues. They have a harder time. They're just That's just not as well managed an environment. It just isn't. Maybe it's because Nigeria is too big. Maybe it's because I don't know why. It just isn't, which is too bad, because I think a lot of people think that it has the most potential in out of anywhere else, and just the sheer amount of um, just economic potential that the environment has. But sometimes that can be a drawback too, because then there's a lot of forces that pull against that, and then it makes it harder for it to work out. But God willing, and maybe one day it'll all get better. Um, okay, well, maybe I'll make another video about this some other time when I'm more, yeah, have more information to share. All right.